What is up, you guys? I'm Charmx, and today I'm going to be reacting to Game Theory, The Lost History of Minecraft's Enderman by the Game Theorist. Now, I haven't reacted to a Game Theorist video in a little while now. Hopefully this will be quite awesome. Judging from the thumbnail, like, the thumbnail makes it look like Minecraft Steve is like the same thing as an Enderman. So I don't know what that's supposed to mean, whether people who get lost in like Minecraft turn into Enderman or something. I don't know, but I'm intrigued. So hopefully this will be quite interesting and informative. But yeah, with that being said, the original link's in the description. Make sure you guys go subscribe to the Game Theorist. That link's also in the description. And yeah, with that being said, let's begin.
No one. Literally no one.
Oh, is this a meme?
Oh, come on, you gotta be kidding me. Hello, Internet. Welcome to Game Theory. Call it nostalgia, call it a return to a more innocent time, call it a desire to trend right off of PewDiePie's success playing the game that just overthrew Fortnite. Rest in peace, Jurgen. But
I'm happy that it overthrew Fortnite. So happy that it did. At least Minecraft's a good game.
I've been digging through a lot of Minecraft lore lately. Oh, and you absolutely heard that right. According to Google Trends, Minecraft is now on top of Fortnite, both in terms of web search and here on YouTube. It's like the Grover Cleveland of video games. And by that I mean a game that was king, gave up its crown to someone else, but then snatched it back, just like old Grover C did when he was elected.
Has it really just been between Minecraft and Fortnite? That's it? Like, has it just been like between those two, no other games?
President. History's only double president, for that matter. Honestly, it's like the only thing Grover Cleveland's known for. Heck, this 10 fascinating facts article on him couldn't even come up with anything remotely interesting, let alone fascinating. What was I talking about again? Oh yeah, Minecraft, on the other hand, is endlessly fascinating, because for a game that's now 10 years old, happy anniversary by the way, its lore still hasn't been cracked. Oh sure, there's plenty of speculation and lots of really good ideas, but to my knowledge, no one has truly been able to piece together a final, all-encompassing, all mysteries of this world tied together lore solve.
I don't know if there, like, are there lores around it? Or if it was just, like, wild ideas that Notch had and just, like, you know, let's freaking implement it into the game.
And so today, I don't really plan on doing that. I'm not even gonna pretend. I'm starting to learn that people take it really seriously when I say stuff like, today we're solving this. So, let me...
Yeah, of course we take it seriously, because that's kind of what you're known for. You're known for, like, cracking, you know, the codes and like plots and whatnot of video games. Of course people are gonna take it seriously.
Instead, say this quite honestly to you. I'm gonna do my best to start us on a journey to solve this thing. Our first step when it comes to solving Minecraft is tackling the Enderman. Originally programmed into the game as a joking reference to Slenderman, these tall, dark...
Yeah, see, it was programmed in originally as a joke. I don't think there was lore around it. I think it was programmed in just because Notch was like, yeah, let's just freaking chuck it in there.
And handsome creatures, well, just tall and dark, I guess, have become the cornerstone upon which all other lore in this game is built. Solving what the Endermen are is essential if we have any hope of truly coming to the definitive solution as to the hidden backstory of this game. And after exploring the design of survival mode, the gameplay decisions, even ancillary canonical content in books like the Mob Bestiary, surprise, surprise, I have myself a theory as to what they actually are. Admittedly, it's not a new theory, but what
I think they're just added in just for the sake of it being added in, you know?
it lacks for an originality, it more than makes up for in evidence and observation. It is
Well, prove me wrong.
you today that the Endermen aren't aliens, they're not ghosts. I almost thought that they were insects, but that one didn't pan out. No, what they are is human. They're brilliant humans. Humans who were in trouble, a literal fight for their lives and needed an escape. But in the process, they
What?
suffered a horrific fate, reducing them to the moaning shadows of a fallen civilization that they are now. So, in the true spirit of Minecraft, let's start building ourselves.
You better have some good proof for that, Matt. I mean, that's a pretty crazy, claim to have. I mean, you gotta have a lot of proof to back up
The
that.
theory, shall we? What do we know about these creatures? Well, first, we know that they're one of the game's neutral mobs, meaning that they're not going to attack you unless they're actively provoked. This is already interesting because it means that, in many ways, they come in peace. I mean, look at the list of mobs and all of their behavior patterns. Anything else that's nice to you is either an animal, a villager, or a zombie pigman, which is weird and honestly merits an episode of its own for another day. Everything. And I mean...
Yeah, the zombie pigman's weird. I've always found it weird. Very weird. It's very bizarre.
Everything else is hostile, except for the Enderman. So already there's a bit of an odd, tenuously peaceful relationship between us and the Enderman, but it gets even weirder when you consider that they're the only other creatures other than Steve or Alex able to move blocks. Sure, they're kinda picky about what blocks they pick up, but carrying blocks is an ability only shared between our character and the Enderman. As
okay, that's some good proof. I'll say that. That's good.
the mob bestiary says, quote, they will not just pick up any block, but will choose only clay, dirt and sand, flowers and other plants, and rather oddly, TNT. Some claim the Enderman is indulging in a form of play or attempting to communicate. Speaking of communication, we also know that they can talk, or at least had the ability to talk. Listen to some of the sound clips from when Endermen are idling near you. You hear it? There's clearly a language here. A real language.
Yeah, that does make... Oh no, don't tell me Matt's or... I think Matt might be right already.
that we as humans can understand. Listen again. You should be hearing, hey. Hello.
That could be that, what's it called? Frig, man, I wish I was smarter. I wish I was smarter. There's like a theory, or not a theory, but like, you know, if you hear something like that and someone suggests what the word is, that's what you'll hear. I don't know, there's like a scientific name for it.
This next one is really clear. What's up?
It does sound pretty similar. But maybe, again, maybe it's just the, because it's suggested, that's what you're hearing. Because that's what's, you know, what's up was suggested.
And look for the eye. Which presumably is...
Okay, that one sounds like it, but then again, it might not be.
Referencing Eyes of Ender, the items that allow you to find strongholds where they're used to activate a portal to the end. Home of the Enderman and the game's final boss, the Ender Dragon.
Yeah, right now I'm actually doing like a Let's Play kind of Minecraft. I think my goal will be to find one of these eventually, but I'm far from that.
Again. So we have ourselves neutral creatures who are able to move blocks, just like us, and have language abilities far beyond what we hear elsewhere in the game from characters like the villagers. It's certainly a lot of odd similarities to be sure, but far from airtight evidence that the Endermen are somehow related to men. But now let's take a minute to actually look at their home, the End. The End is a weird final dimension for Minecraft. It honestly
Oh, is that where they live? In the end level with the dragon? Is that where they live?
feels to me like where the game started to run out of money. Not that it could ever run out of money. With the whole thing just being a bunch of end stone and purple blocks. Ugly purples and yellows everywhere, huge chunks of landscape missing, and giant cities that you can visit far off in the distance. All of which are eerily empty.
Oh, is that what their houses look like? I didn't know that. Is this like a new thing, or has that been in there for years?
This is the home of the Enderman, sure. Even the mob bestiary says it. But look closer and you see that while the Endermen may call this dimension home, and they certainly wander around in the empty open landscapes, these giant looming Thanos purple buildings aren't for them. What do I mean by that? Well, let's take a look inside the End cities. There's tons of great loot hidden all over the place. Inside the chests, you can find everything from enchanted swords to saddles and armor for your horse. The Minecraft Gamepedia breaks down everything that we can find here, but something's wrong with that list.
Let me guess, the Enderman can't use the weapons.
None of these items are actually useful to the Endermen. They don't wear armor, they don't attack with swords, and they certainly don't ride animals.
True.
Heck, there are no animals in the End to ride. Even the fact that the...
What, are you suggesting that at one point they were human and then they could use all these things and they turned, so now they can't use them? Is that what you're suggesting, Matt?
Items are kept in chests should be a huge red flag here. Remember, Endermen are only picking up certain blocks, and none of those blocks entail chests. They can't use these things or the thing that stores those things. All of this points to the idea that the End's cities weren't built by the Endermen. They were built by and for someone else. Some other ancient people who managed to get to the end. But who? When you start up a new survival mode game, you enter a blank world. Immediately you notice that you're the only one of your kind. Oh, sure, as you adventure, you'll come across NPCs like the villagers, but they're
They don't look like you.
not like you. They don't look like you.
I never really thought of that. Why don't they look like you? Maybe, yeah, I think Matt actually might be right. I'm starting to see where he's going with this. Maybe you're one of the last people. Like, all the Endermen are what you were before, but then they got turned. So you're one of the last people, I guess?
They can't build like you. You and the villagers are fundamentally different. It's almost as if you're a different species.
Exactly.
Attacks. When bit, a villager doesn't transform into a normal zombie. It turns specifically into a zombie villager. Regular zombies and zombie villagers are different. In fact, the only times that you ever really see anything that looks even remotely like you, it's always in the form of undead enemies. Zombies, drowned, husks. It
And then maybe the Enderman. Oh boy.
implies that once upon a time there were other humans here, but they all died en masse. It's a strange detail that you probably noticed, but you shrug it off and you continue on your journey. Then you start discovering pre-existing structures, mine shafts, temples in the desert, monuments underwater, all abandoned, all of them lost to time. Again, you're the only person who can build things in this world, and you certainly didn't build any of these things, so where did they come from?
Okay, to be fair, the villagers live in towns which they obviously built, so that there proves that they can build if needed. We just never see them building because their home is already built.
Making things even more suspicious is the fact that ruins like desert temples are protected by cleverly designed booby traps. Elaborate fake floors complete with pressure plates and grids of TNT. It all points.
So then that makes you question, how did they, or how did the humans, how did they go away? Because if you can survive, you one person can survive, how come so many other people, like if there were a lot others before, how come they couldn't survive? You know, that doesn't make any sense. Unless you happen to be like the smartest of the humans. That doesn't make sense.
To one thing, an advanced society of builders once lived in the overworld, but have since disappeared. So that begs the question, where did they go?
And why did they disappear?
Maybe they all died, which in turn led to the armies of the undead mobs that we have to guard against every night. And while I certainly think that that's part of it, it's not the whole story. Because we know that they went somewhere, teleported somewhere. And while they could have gone any number of places, we know for a fact that one of the places they ended up was the end. How can we be so sure? Strongholds. Strongholds are the hidden ancient ruins that contain massive portals to the end. Whatever this ancient society was, they were so advanced that they could figure out how to build these things, which in turn makes them more advanced than even you, the player. In survival mode, you can't craft the end frames necessary to construct this thing.
See, I always thought that you could. When because I don't know, when I played Minecraft freaking years and years ago, like 7 years ago or whatever, I always thought that you could build like a portal to get to the end. But I guess maybe I was wrong. I don't know. I don't think I ever like got to the end. But if it's true that you can't, and that it's already built by, another civilization or whatever, that obviously makes sense that they were a lot smarter than you. But at the same time, if they were that advanced and like smart and whatnot, how could they not survive in Minecraft? How could they not survive? I mean, sure, the creepers can be a little bit annoying, but I mean, if one person can survive for long periods of time, a civilization should be able to survive for a long time.
In order to travel to the end, you must find these portals hidden within the stronghold. And let's stop there for a minute. I mean, have you ever thought to question that name? Stronghold? It's a pretty odd choice. A term that refers to a highly secure structure built for defending against attacks. And there's that idea again. An ancient civilization of advanced builders that was quickly dying. A group of builders, just like our player, who were being threatened in the overworld and needed an escape.
It's not that hard to kill a few zombies and creepers. I mean, if Charmx can do it, anyone should be able to.
And what they created was a portal to another dimension, the end, where, wouldn't you know know it, they built cities to store the items and armor from their previous world. But there was one thing that they did.
Yeah, that makes sense. At the same time, if you build a castle, I mean, the monsters aren't going to get in, so you should be fine. So that doesn't make sense why they would leave.
Didn't expect that this would be a one-way trip, that the portal would close up behind them, leaving them stranded in a strange and barren wasteland. Sure, they were safe from whatever was killing them in the overworld, but now they were trapped in a wasteland guarded by an unstoppable dragon, and they came unprepared. Based on what we see in the chests, they came in with swords and armor and horses. Effective weapons to be sure, but not against an otherworldly foe, a giant foe that flies around and attacks with towering beacons that restore its health. They couldn't defeat this thing, hence why it's still living when we arrive. And as we know from the game, the only way out of the end is
okay, wait, I actually need to know how the only way out.
through defeating the Ender Dragon. And since they could
But wait, so you can defeat it, one person can defeat it, but a whole group of them couldn't defeat it? And they're supposedly really, like, friggin', you know, smart? Okay.
They were stuck, trapped there for generations. They learn to live in harmony with the dragon. They make a new life with whatever limited resources they have there, building homes using the strange end stones and purple blocks. They run out of food and soon have nothing to eat, so they turn to the strange chorus fruits found there. Chorus fruits, which, funny enough, have teleportation properties. And
Oh, so they eat them and then they turn into the Enderman after a while or something?
over time, they begin to change. They adapt to their new surroundings. Oh sure, they retain some human features. According to the diagrams in the mob bestiary, their brains are very human-like, and they have the flat faces and wide eyes indicative of humans. They still do vaguely look like our player character, but they evolve to grow taller, which makes picking the tall stalks of chorus fruit easier. Similar to how giraffes' necks got longer to more easily reach higher up leaves. The fruit's teleportation ability.
Yeah, I had no clue about any of these fruit things or anything like that in the end game or whatever. I never knew that those existed.
Starts to rub off on them. So instead of having to rely on ender pearls to teleport around, they instead naturally gain the ability from their diet. Over time, they slowly forget their ability to build. I mean, why build when there's no escape, when there's not even many resources with which to craft? But they still retain the ability to pick up blocks. Though their skill for speech gets forgotten, they do retain a rudimentary language, still speaking in those distorted words.
Sounds like Charmx. I mean, he can't speak without stuttering to save his life.
This once great builder society slowly, generation after generation, transforms into the Enderman. Even some of their memories may still remain. One odd detail of the
Yeah, I think Matt's actually really correct here, or at least this makes a lot of sense. I was not aware of the weird fruit and whatnot. I was not aware of even the buildings in the end either. So actually, this does make sense.
Enderman is that wearing a pumpkin on your head prevents them from becoming aggressive. Maybe it reminds them, somewhere deep down, of a simpler time, or of the friendly golems that they would construct back on the overworld. Regardless, the civilization is stuck there. Oh sure, some are able to teleport out into the overworld or into the nether, but most are forced to live there, under the rule of the dragon. And we know this isn't by choice, because when you finally arrive in the end, when you finally defeat their oppressor, the achievement we receive is free the end.
Charmx is my oppressor.
The Endermen at this point are so far gone from the people they once were that they're no longer able to appreciate what's happening.
This is kind of spoilers, because I've never beaten the end.
But in defeating the dragon, you as the player have brought closure to this oppressed civilization. One that was forced to flee to a new dimension in order to survive, only to wind up trapped yet again. And that, my friends, is the story of Minecraft. You're a builder, and you follow in the path of the great builders who came before you, discovering their work, learning of their enemies, unlocking their technology, and ultimately freeing them from their greatest oppressor. Now, admittedly, there are some difficult things to explain here, like how this
Like, how did you show up out of nowhere to begin with?
ancient civilization got access to the Ender Pearls necessary to craft the Eyes of Ender required to build a portal to the end if they themselves become the Endermen.
Yeah, that's kind of like a catch-22, isn't it?
It would require some sort of time loop, which honestly there isn't a whole lot of evidence for. Instead, my thought here is that the Ender Pearls are items that they learn to create before becoming Endermen, before going to the end. I mean, think about this. We know
Yeah, that makes sense.
civilization was able to access the Nether. End rods and Eyes of Ender both require blaze-related materials to craft. So this civilization had definitely visited that dimension, and thus knew how to access the powers of teleportation. So maybe they learned how to harness that in a smaller, portable form, i.e. the Ender Pearl, before ever making it to the end? I'm not 100% sure. It's honestly just speculation to try and solve for this theory's biggest problem. The Endermen are just the start to the puzzle that is Minecraft, but there is still plenty more here for us to discover. So until then, remember, that's just a theory.
What the frig are they doing?
A game theory.
Anyway, I hope you guys like this video. I think Matt's actually quite right. All these structures and whatnot were built, right? And when you play Minecraft, there's all these structures built, like mine shafts and temples and everything like that. So obviously there was a civilization before you. And then you also have the zombies, which look like you. You have all these things that look like you, but are not you. So it does make sense that there was obviously a civilization before, which is no longer there. And I never even knew that, like, in the end portal or whatever, that there's our buildings and weird fruit and whatnot. I never knew any of that. So this kind of really opened my mind. So yeah, I think Matt's right. It really does make sense that the Endermen are, or were, what you are. But at the same time, you know, for being a civilization that's so advanced or whatnot, you would think that they would be able to defeat some creepers and skeletons or something like that, right? You'd think they would be able to beat him, because if I by myself can build a nice house and a farm, and I could put a wall up around my house by myself, if I can survive perfectly fine, you would think that they, a civilization of many, many, many people, could also survive by themselves. It's like in the real world, where, you know, thousands of years ago, you know, there were lots of predators and whatnot, and over time, humans have just kind of wiped them all out. And you'd think that they would be able to do the same in this, you know, universe or whatever. But, yeah, anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this. And if you did, make sure you give it a thumbs up. If you're new, hit subscribe and join the family. Make sure you guys also go subscribe to The Game Theorist. That link's in the description. And, yeah, with that being said, I'll see you guys next time.